When I shoot a great champion like Ben Crenshaw, history can happen at any time, and that's why I stay ready all the time with my Canon AE-1. The zoom lens puts me right where the action is. So if Ben gets that one miracle shot, I get it too. Ben, you try the zoom. Sure. Even with the zoom, the Canon AE-1 is as easy as focus and click.
The incomparable Canon AE-1, so advanced, it's simple.
Welcome to This Old Camera. I'm your host Azriel Knight, and today I'm showing you the Canon AE-1. The Canon AE-1 debuted in 1976 and was the first of the A series of cameras. Microcomputer controlled and deceptively plastic, the AE-1 marked a new era in SLR photography. Until this time, Canon had its success with the fixed lens market, but had just suffered major losses due to the oil crisis of the early 1970s and defective parts in their calculators. This marks an overhaul on their line and the first real attempt at joining powerhouses like Nikon, Olympus, Pentax, and Minolta in the American market. Another step Canon took was advertising in sports magazines with celebrity athlete endorsements and sponsoring the 1980 Olympics. Cruise Travel magazine said it was a fine example of the new electronic wave in photography. Buying this with a 50mm 1.4 would set you back $478 in 1976. Adjusting for inflation, that's just over $2,000 in 2015. That's about the same as buying a Canon EOS 7D Mark II with a 50mm 1.4. In 1982, Canon would follow up with the AE-1 program, the same camera in a lot of ways, with one or two upgrades, and a fully automated program feature. From here, we'll go over some basics of its operation, then I'll put it through some tests to make sure it's working. After that, I'll go out and shoot with it, and finally I'll share some thoughts and tell you where you can get one, how much it'll set you back, and if it's worth it. Installing the battery is simple. Just flip this door open and place inside, positive and upward. Check the battery by holding this button on the top left and look in the viewfinder. A good battery will read below this index mark, a drained one above. You're going to see a couple of variations of the FD mount. Some will have a breech lock, in which part of the lens turns, while others will have a bayonet mount, where the whole lens turns and there's a safety lock. In both cases, you'll want to match the red dots and rotate clockwise. Breech mounts will tighten, bayonets will click into place. To load a roll of 35mm film, pull up on this knob until the back door opens. Place the film inside and push the knob back down while rotating until it's flush as before. Draw the film across, being careful not to touch the shutter curtain. Place the film lead into the slot, line up the sprockets, and advance once to ensure the camera uptakes the film. If there's any slack, you can tighten by rotating the left knob backward gently. As you advance, you'll see the left side rotate. That's how you know the film is moving along. Setting the ISO is finicky. First, move the advance lever to the 30-degree position and shutter speed to 1/25 or 2/50 of a second. This will ensure you can clearly see the numbers as you lift the outer ring and rotate to the desired ISO. If your lens has an A, you can set your aperture to it and the camera will choose an appropriate setting. The AE-1 uses a split prism focusing system. Whether in shutter priority or manual, your camera will display the required aperture for what it thinks a proper exposure is. If you see a blinking red dot, you are drastically under or overexposed. At this point, you can advance the film and press the shutter. To set the self-timer, move this lever forward and press the shutter. There's a 10-second delay. When you've taken all of your shots, you won't be able to advance further. Press this button on the bottom, lift this lever, and rotate until you no longer feel resistance. I happen to have a couple of the accessories, including the auto winder as well as the 277T flash. Both take 4 AA batteries. I tested both 277Ts I have against a more modern 580EX2 at full power. The 580EX2 got a reading of 1.5 stops higher. What's fascinating is Canon has a date code on the inside, so you can narrow the manufacturer date right down to the month, so we'll see if aging has a factor. I come across a lot of these, and because they're cheap, a backup is almost a no-brainer. I have a few AE-1s here, and was curious how they compared to each other. The newest one is pretty good. Only at the highest setting does it really drop off, and only by 1/10 of an f-stop. This one is essentially factory standard. Sadly, the light seals failed on me recently. This early model is definitely showing its age, but honestly, you could work around it by avoiding the last 2 settings or using the 1/1000th as your 1/500th. The meter in all 3 of these are off by at least an f-stop, and using an underpowered versus fresh battery made no difference. I've used several AE-1s over the years and I've gotten some great results. Let's talk about some pros and cons. Starting with the pros. The AE-1 is an inexpensive camera and easy to find, and if you're mechanically inclined, that means parts are also easy to find. FD lenses are still common to find in garage sales and thrift stores, and super high-end lenses are still a fraction of the cost. Easy to hold and simple to use, classic design. Now on to the cons. The felt used to block light at the front when the mirror lifts in the back where it closes is quite literally melting on most of these models now. Batteries these days are sometimes more expensive than the camera and getting harder to find. No aperture priority paired with an anti-intuitive viewfinder make getting to your exposure fussy. So does the AE-1 hold up in the 21st century? It's so cliche, but yes and no. A lack of aperture priority, an odd battery, light leak issues make it pretty janky. On the other hand, the lenses are inexpensive, the design is classic, and it's hard not to come across an AE-1 while thrift shopping. Finding one in a garage sale is more of a gamble, so picking up a few over a summer of hunting and testing the best model is a smart way to go. If you want one now, I highly recommend finding one that's been cleaned, lubricated, and adjusted by a professional, and maybe even one that comes with a warranty. Finally, if you find a black one, they tend to be more rare. Thank you for watching another episode of This Old Camera. Please remember to like and subscribe, and let me know which camera you think I should profile down in the comments below. Also, I plan on releasing a new segment pretty soon, so keep an eye out for that. Be sure and check out my other channel, Mysterious Developments, where I look for clues in lost and abandoned film. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter. And until next time, stay classic.